You are watching the New American Media. And if you're listening live, that took a matter of seconds. If you're listening after the fact on YouTube or on, that'd be youtube.com/The New American Media or thenewamericanmedia.com. Or if you clicked on the link that we sent out on Twitter, thank you very much. We're at American_media_ follow us and search The New American Media on Facebook and like our page. Zak Baris is our guest. You can follow him once again at Z Baris. That's ZBARIS, lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. Zak, you are in Atlanta. You are in the midst of Final Four craziness. What do you see? I really lost a lot of my steam when the Buckeyes went down last week. I kind of took it easy, peeled back for a minute, and now that we've had a week, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on how the Buckeyes went down before we get to Wichita State and their matchup?
Yeah, typical sad Mata choke job with this team. I feel like it happens with the Ohio State. This happened, last year. Yeah, they lost against Kansas. It wasn't as bad. I didn't feel as bad when they lost against Kansas last year because I knew they had no chance against Kentucky last year. No one was going to beat Kentucky last year. So I didn't feel as bad. But this year was their year. It was their year for an Ohio State-Michigan title game to be set up perfectly. I mean, it was sitting there. And, granted, I think they would have struggled big time with Louisville. I don't know if they would have even gotten past Louisville, to tell you the truth. I think Louisville's the best defensive team in the tournament. Even if you look at their offensive efficiency, it's still incredibly high for how well they play defense. They've been blowing away teams. I tend to think that they're going to beat Wichita State. And this is not saying anything bad about Wichita State. I think Louisville plays a similar game as Wichita State. They're both great defensive teams. Louisville is just a better team. They apply the full court pressure all game. When Ohio State started doing that to Wichita State, allowed Ohio State to climb right back in the game. And I think I give Louisville the advantage here. And then looking at the Michigan-Syracuse side, I think you have some great matchups, especially I think the most intriguing matchup of the entire Final Four is Michigan point guard Trey Burke against Syracuse point guard Michael Carter-Williams. I think that is one of the best matchups. You're looking at two lottery picks, both at point guard, one 6'5", the other one at 5'11". So this gives you a chance to basically see Trey Burke's NBA potential, at the helm right here. If he plays an unbelievable game against Carter-Williams, his stock's only going to rise and it's only going to go higher. Carter-Williams, he could play a fantastic game too. I fully expect the Michigan-Syracuse game to go either way. I have no clue who's going to win that game. I think it's very evenly matched. Although I think Michigan does have a little bit more talent than Syracuse. I will say that.
Do you think Trey Burke getting the Wooden Award was the right choice? Do you think he's the guy?
I mean, give me another player who I think it could have gone to. I don't think I could name anyone who's been as consistent as Trey Burke has all year. I can't tell you where that Michigan team would be without him. He's made Mitch McGary look incredible over the past few weeks. He's basically the catalyst too. He just makes everyone around him better.
Well, that was a huge comeback they had the other night too, being down so much. And I kept watching the Buckeyes saying, "Come on, you can do this too. Come on, Buckeyes, you can come back." And they almost did. They just couldn't at the end. They fell apart. But
they got within 3. Aaron Craft should have just stopped shooting the ball. Aaron Craft basically. It was great. It was great as a scout to be able to watch the Ohio State game and go, okay, we don't have to worry about Aaron Craft ever being an NBA point guard. It's just not going to happen. He's way too limited offensively. We've all known this for years, but as a defensive stopper, we're always like, okay, well, I could always see him being a D-leaguer who could always be called up on a 10-day contract for a team. Needs to buckle down and go against a really good point guard defensively. But his offensive game is just so lacking in skill. That was one of the reasons Ohio State lost. And he was constantly shooting the ball all game, and he just wasn't making. I think he was 1 for 10 or 1 for 11. His shooting was absolutely atrocious, and it just didn't allow Ohio State to get back in the game because of that. And he's not a great passer either. He doesn't do anything in particularly well, other than he's a fantastic defender. But his physical play isn't built for the tournament because the refs call all these, they call a bunch of quick, fouls in the tournament. So the Big Ten style play gets, it's hindered a little bit during the NCAA tournament. But otherwise, Ohio State had a fantastic season. I guess they went as far as they could go. Granted, they should be at the Final Four, but, and that's not taking anything away from Wichita State, who played a fantastic game. Ohio State had the majority of the crowd at that game. I would say it was probably 65% Ohio State fans, and I would say maybe even 70%. You heard the OHIO chants all game. and Ohio State basically blew a home game.
Yeah. And you could hear it in the crowd. You could feel it. You could sense it. It was just strange how bad they were in that first half. The hole that they dug themselves. I mean, it's not that they have never done this before. You almost start getting used to it. They are who we thought they were. You start slow enough, it's going to bite you at some point. But let me ask you about Deshaun Thomas. Do you think it's a good move for him to declare for the NBA draft? And if so, where do you see him maybe getting picked?
I see him going in the second round of the draft. I mean, here's the thing with Deshaun. Is his stock, I don't think, can get any higher than it is. And I always say that when a player reaches their max potential on their stock, their draft stock, go. It was still like when I was at Arizona and Chase Budinger was a freshman over there. He was a projected late lottery pick. Everyone, a lot of people are saying go to the draft. You're not going to be picked higher next year. Well, he stays another year, goes, he's sitting in that same part of the late lottery, of anywhere from 13 to 15. He decides to stay a third year, and people go, okay, well, his game hasn't improved. And it hasn't improved anywhere. He falls all the way to the second round. Granted, he's a serviceable NBA player, but his stock just never improved after his freshman year and caused him to drop. I think the same thing will happen with Deshaun. I think he'll put up very, very similar numbers a year from now than he did this year, and his stock just won't improve. So I think he's making the right decision to go. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's even a huge issue for Ohio State. I fully expect LaQuinton Ross to step in there and take over for Deshaun Thomas and be a prolific scorer. He's going to be.
He's an interesting player. He's an interesting player.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I think his release needs to improve a little bit. He doesn't always take the quickest shot. He sometimes sits there, debates whether to take the shot for a second, and then takes it. Sometimes you just have to go for it. And I think I saw him hesitate a few times in the Wichita State game, which caused him to miss shots. He just needs to be a quicker thinker on the court. But he does have a lot of potential. He's only a sophomore. He's one of those guys where if he came out this year, his stock wouldn't be, relatively high. But a year from now, you're looking at a guy who can be a first-round pick.
Let's just remember this, Buckeye fans. We're not too far away from watching Urban Meyer continue his undefeated streak with the Ohio State Buckeye football program. So I guess that's kind of what I'm looking forward to there. We'll see what happens with Thomas as he declares for the draft. I want to ask you this real quick. Ed Rush has resigned as Pac-12 officials chief after he made these comments jokingly, these are air quotes, jokingly when he makes offers of $5,000 or a trip to Mexico for any referee who called a technical foul on Arizona coach Sean Miller during the league tournament. Now, you're familiar with Arizona, and you're familiar with the Pac-12, and you're familiar with basketball. What are your thoughts on this one, Zach?
Oh, that one frustrates me to beyond belief because I still remember that game in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
I was at that game in Vegas, and I was like, are you kidding me? You called a technical foul right there? And then the double dribble, just everything. It's like they're almost out to get Sean Miller, the referees. I talk to my Arizona buddies all the time about basketball, especially this time of year, and everyone said the same thing. I still remember Derek Williams posted on his Twitter, even says, that was the worst call I've ever seen in my life. Let's all raise the money to pay Sean Miller's fine for him. He had to pay a fine too. I think it's absolutely, when you're jeopardizing the integrity of the game, he needs to go. You just don't do that.
Tim Donaghy style.
And, yeah. It's fixing a game basically. You cannot do that, And I think Ed Rush, I'm very excited that he's gone. I've always thought the Pac-12 officials have been out to get Sean Miller. I've always thought that. But like I said, it's going to be a new season next year, and they have a really good recruiting class coming down there. They have with Rondé Jefferson and Aaron Gordon. They're going to be a force next year as long as those guys pan out. From what at least what I saw from Aaron Gordon in the All-American game the other night, they're going to be a really, really good basketball team next year. And and looking at Kentucky, like I said, if Andrew Wiggins goes to Kentucky, I don't know if there's even a reason to watch college basketball next year. If you're picking a winner. It's like last year, you knew Kentucky was going to win. They had that chance of choking. But now you're looking at 6 of the top 18 recruits in the country going to Kentucky. If Wiggins commits, that would be 7. And then you have guys like Poitras and Cauley Stein staying. You're looking at a potential of 9 to 10 first-round picks next year on Kentucky's roster.
Jeez. Man, that's like the New York Yankees or the Cleveland St. Ignatius of the college basketball world.
You're going to see guys getting drafted in the first round that are playing 12 minutes a game.
Nice.
Just think about it. That's why I really, really hoped just to create some parity in the NCAA next year, that Andrew Wiggins, I still tend to think he will go to Florida State. You know, I from what I hear, it's a toss-up between that and Kentucky. If any of the listeners haven't had a chance to watch Andrew Wiggins yet, please go and do it. Please go watch his YouTube videos.
Hey, yeah, we know.
Phenomenal. I've been saying all along.
Yes, you have. You love this guy.
NBA superstar.
You love Andrew Wiggins. And let me say, you said somebody playing 12 minutes and go in the first round. I'm thinking Deion Waiters. I'm gonna hold you to this now. I'm just gonna kind of put it up there. I know you said it's kind of a coin flip right now, Syracuse versus Michigan. Now I'm thinking Deion Waiters and such. So I know you said it's a coin flip, but end of the day, what's your
I'm
gut
going to go with
telling
Michigan.
Go
At
Michigan.
the end of the day, I'm going to go with Michigan.
All right, so you're calling a Michigan-Lawville championship game.
Yes.
All right, well, Zach, we're just about out of time. Hey, have a good Final Four. We'll be talking with you soon. I appreciate your time as always. Zach, it can be found on Twitter. He's at Zak Baris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. Appreciate it as always, buddy. We'll be talking with you soon, okay?
Thanks again for having me on.
Sure thing. That was Zak Baris, everybody. He always joins the program during basketball season. We appreciate his presence here. That is sure. When I come back real quick, I have a couple of words for Colt McCoy. I'm gonna talk a little bit of just bounce over to the Cleveland Browns. I know I haven't been really covering the Cleveland Browns much, and if you know me, the Unhappy Hour was founded by unhappy Cleveland sports fan myself. Because the Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeyes can never seem to... I'm sorry. Indians, Cavs, and Browns can never seem to win championships. Yes, the Buckeyes did give us one, but that's technically Columbus. That's not really Cleveland. But we're going to be talking... We're definitely going to be doing a couple draft shows with the NFL coming up here. So please stay tuned in just a second. I just a couple of quick words for Colt McCoy as he got traded over to the San Francisco 49ers. I got a few words. I want to say that. So please do us a favor. Follow us on Twitter at American_media_. Search The New American Media on Facebook and like our page. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/The New American Media, and check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. I'm your host, Brian Engelman. We'll be right back in just a moment here on thenewamericanmedia.com's The Unhappy Hour live sports program.
You are listening to The New American Media.